Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Okay, so today we're stepping into a world where, well, science fiction meets some of those, anxieties that we have um, in the real world.
hmm
We've got our source material today is a speech,
Okay.
and it's like a pivotal moment in this story we're looking at where, well, humanity is facing some pretty serious environmental problems.
Yeah.
But here's the twist. We're teaming up with aliens to try to solve them.
Interesting.
So,
That's a fascinating premise, isn't it? I
yeah,
mean, this speech is delivered by a character, Dr. Arjun, and he's talking to this huge crowd, and it's not just humans,
right.
it's aliens too.
Yeah,
It's like if you can imagine something straight out of a movie,
right.
a shared stage, there's screens everywhere with all this data, graphs and charts, and you can just like feel this sense of, I don't know, like a mix of hope and apprehension in the air.
Yeah, I can picture it.
Yeah.
It's really striking. So, okay, let's kind of break this down. Dr. Arjun, he starts out, right? He's laying out all the problems.
Uh-huh.
Climate change,
Yeah.
pollution,
Mm-hmm.
resources, dwindling, running out, all those kind of things that we're dealing with right now.
Right.
But here's where it gets really, really interesting. He says that these aliens, they've been through something similar.
Oh, wow.
They've faced their own environmental collapse,
Okay.
and they came out the other side.
So they know what we're going through.
They know what we're going through, and they figured out how to get through it.
Interesting.
And that's why, they're here. But here's what's really intriguing to me. He really emphasizes that this isn't just a handout. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, they're not just here to wave a magic wand and fix everything.
Right. Right.
It's a partnership.
Yeah.
He calls it a confluence of civilizations.
I-
And there's this one line that really stood out to me. He says, "Today, we're witnessing a historic moment. It is not merely a meeting of humans and aliens, but a confluence of two civilizations."
Yeah.
And that suggests to me something much deeper than just, sharing technology.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a sharing of knowledge, of perspectives.
Yeah. Real exchange.
Yeah. So it's not just about the tech.
No.
It's about a cultural exchange too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of new thinking are they bringing to the table here?
Well, he hints at some of their philosophies. He's talking about how they manage their resources and that they think long term,
Mm.
sustainability over short term gains, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And he talks about how they understand how everything's connected, like the ecosystems, and that they really have this reverence for nature.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, this makes us rethink, our own view that humans are at the center of everything.
Right, right.
So it makes us consider other ways to relate to our planet, maybe we're not the most important thing.
That's a really interesting point. So it sounds like what you're saying is that he's trying to inspire people, both humans and aliens,
Yeah.
to kind of embrace this new way of thinking,
Oh,
a
absolutely.
new way of being.
He's painting this picture of a brighter future, but it's not like a perfect utopia. He's
Yeah.
honest about the challenges,
Yeah.
but he thinks that this alien partnership can help us reframe our goals,
Okay.
to be more resilient, to adapt better, and to understand like where we really fit in this web of life.
Hmm. That's fascinating. Now, what about the aliens themselves?
Yeah.
I mean, what do we actually learn about them from this speech?
Well, he's kind of vague about the specifics.
Okay.
He focuses on this shared experience, that environmental crisis that they both went through,
Yeah, yeah.
and their willingness to work together, their culture, their motivations, even what they look like.
Right.
He leaves that all up to our imaginations.
Which, I gotta say, makes them even more intriguing.
Yeah.
It's like he's inviting us to fill in those blanks,
Mm-hmm.
to imagine what kind of beings could have this kind of wisdom
Right.
and this generosity,
And that's where science fiction, it shines, right?
Yeah.
Because it lets us explore the unknown, to think about these really complex questions.
Yeah.
And to challenge like our own assumptions about what's even possible. And even though this is, it's a fictional story,
Mm-hmm.
it makes us think about, some real anxieties that we have about our own future.
It really does. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? I mean, if we were in that situation, would we be open to that kind of collaboration?
It's a good question. And, speaking of radical solutions, there are a few things he points to in the speech, some specific areas where this alien partnership could really have a big impact.
Okay.
Yeah, like really change things.
Okay, so you're saying radical solutions. What kinds of specifics does he actually talk about?
Well, one that really jumps out is energy. Dr. Arjun, he talks about the aliens showing us, like, introducing us to all these new ways to make energy.
Hmm.
Clean, sustainable, and like it sounds like they're practically limitless.
Wow.
He describes it as like a total paradigm shift,
Okay.
moving away from fossil fuels and towards, a system that actually works with nature, not against it.
Now that's what I call a game changer.
Right.
Imagine, I mean, imagine a world where we're not dependent on these, polluting energy sources anymore. I mean, that would change everything.
Absolutely.
Everything.
And he also gets into like environmental remediation.
Okay.
Apparently, these aliens, they've got these advanced technologies that can, get this, they can actually repair ecosystems that have been damaged.
What?
Yeah.
Well,
Clean polluted water.
no way.
Even restore biodiversity.
It's like science fiction terraforming, but on Earth.
Yeah, exactly.
It's mind-boggling. I mean, to think that we could not just like stop doing more damage, but actually like heal the planet.
It's a pretty hopeful vision, but
Yeah.
and it's not just about the technology itself.
Yeah.
He really stresses that we need to adopt their whole approach to taking care of the environment,
All right. Yeah.
like learning to live in balance with nature, not just trying to control it all the time.
So it's like a real change in how we see things.
Yeah, yeah.
A more, I don't know, a more sustainable and harmonious way of being on the planet.
Right, right.
But how does he actually convince people to buy into all this? I mean, these are some pretty radical changes he's talking about.
Well, that's where the speech gets really clever, I think. He
Ah.
doesn't just hit people with facts and figures.
Right.
He appeals to our emotions, to that sense of, shared responsibility for the future.
Hmm.
He reminds us that, hey, this isn't just about saving the planet, it's about saving ourselves.
And he's doing this while he's standing right there next to an alien leader.
Exactly.
Talk about a powerful visual.
Yeah, it's incredibly symbolic. It's like, representing this unity, this collaboration.
Yeah.
It really drives home this idea that, hey, we're all in this together, humans, aliens, we've got this common threat, we've got to work together towards this shared goal.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? I mean, if that kind of shared purpose could be the key to, getting past some of our own divisions here.
It's a fascinating thought.
Yeah.
Maybe we need that.
Mhm.
Like a common enemy or, well, in this case, a common challenge to bring us together.
Speaking of challenges, I mean, he doesn't exactly shy away from the difficulties that are ahead, does he?
No, he's very upfront about it.
Yeah.
He acknowledges that, this transition, it's not going to be easy.
Right.
There's going to be pushback, setbacks, sacrifices. It's going to be tough. But he frames these challenges as opportunities to grow. He says, that by going through this, by working with the aliens, humanity won't just survive.
Okay.
We'll actually thrive. We'll evolve as a species, become more resilient, more innovative, and more connected to nature.
He does paint a pretty compelling picture, doesn't he?
Right.
I mean, it's not just about avoiding disaster. It's about building a better future.
And he makes it clear that it's a future we have to build together.
Yeah.
He calls upon everyone, scientists, engineers, artists, educators, everyone to, contribute their talents, their passion to this collective effort.
It's really a powerful message, It's not about sitting back and waiting for someone else to fix everything.
Right.
It's about recognizing that we all have something to contribute.
Exactly. And that brings us to, I think, another crucial element in this speech.
Okay.
This element of hope. Even with all these, huge challenges, he manages to convey this sense of optimism, this belief that, hey, a better future is actually possible.
Yeah. I bet that hope is contagious. Just to hear someone speaking with that kind of conviction, that passion, it must be incredible.
It is. It's a reminder that even when things seem really dark, we can still choose to focus on the possibility of a brighter future,
Yeah.
And that choice, that act of believing in a better future, it's often the first step towards actually making it happen.
So, I mean, what does all this mean for us, listening to this, fictional speech from this world that's dealing with all these problems that are both familiar and really strange at the same time?
Right.
I mean, what can we actually take away from this deep dive into Dr. Arjun's words?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is perspective.
Right.
Dr. Arjun's speech, it challenges us to look beyond our own little bubble and to see the bigger picture. It invites us to imagine a world where collaboration, innovation, and a deep respect for nature can actually lead us to a more sustainable and a more fulfilling future.
Yeah, it's like he's holding up this mirror to our own world,
Yeah,
showing us the problems, but also like the potential solution.
exactly.
But, it's up to us to decide which path we want to take.
Absolutely. Dr. Arjun's speech, it's a call to action. It's a reminder that we have the power to shape our own destiny. And that power, it starts with our willingness to imagine, to believe, and to act.
Inspiring stuff. But it does make you think, doesn't it? Like how do we actually take this fictional vision and turn it into something real?
Well, maybe that's something we can, dig into a bit more.
Okay.
After all, even the most, out there science fiction, it usually has some roots in reality.
Right.
So by looking at the themes and the ideas that he brings up in the speech, maybe we can learn something about our own challenges and maybe even find some opportunities.
That's a great point. And speaking of insights, there's one more thing about this speech that I think we should talk about. So you were saying there was one more thing about the speech. What is it?
Well, if you listen closely, Dr. Arjun keeps coming back to this idea of shared responsibility.
Okay.
He's not saying that just the governments or scientists should fix everything. He's saying that everyone, no matter who they are or what they do, needs to step up and help.
Yeah, that's really interesting because it's like he's saying we can't just leave it to the experts,
Right.
It's about everyone having the power to be part of the solution.
Exactly. He even uses this term, citizen scientist, at one point. Like, we
Yeah.
can all observe and experiment and, come up with new ideas. He talks about how important local initiatives are, like finding solutions in our own communities and the power of working together, collective action.
So it's not just about like getting all of this fancy alien tech. It's about us humans being clever and working together,
Yeah.
like on a global scale.
That's it. He makes this really strong argument that, working with the aliens isn't just about getting their knowledge and tech.
Yeah.
It's about learning from how they solve problems.
Yeah.
Their sense of community, their deep connection to nature.
It's like they're giving us the plans for a better way of life.
Yeah, and it's funny because a lot of the stuff he talks about, it already exists here,
Interesting.
Yeah, like permaculture, have you heard of that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Biomimicry. Regenerative design. It's like he's pointing to this future where these ideas can actually, take off and grow.
That's a pretty powerful vision.
It is.
And I think it's something we can all connect to, even if we don't have aliens showing up anytime soon.
Totally. I mean, really, this whole speech is about what we're capable of as humans, It reminds us that we can overcome anything, even the toughest challenges, as long as we work together, find new ways of doing things and try to live in a way that's, well, more sustainable and more caring.
And that's something that goes way beyond just science fiction.
Oh, absolutely. It's relevant to all of us right now.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. We hear so much negativity these days. It's kind of refreshing to listen to a story that focuses on hope,
Right.
on resilience, and on what humans can achieve if we put our minds to it. It reminds us that even when things seem impossible, we can still make things better.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into Dr. Arjun's speech, what's the main thing you want people to remember? What's that one key takeaway?
I think it's this. We're not helpless. We all have a part to play in making the future, whether it's, making changes in our own lives or supporting groups that are trying to make things better,
Right.
or even just, talking about hope and the good things that could happen. Dr. Arjun's speech, it's a call to action. It's like he's saying, come on, let's work together to make a better world.
And that's an invitation we should all accept.
I think so.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into a world where science fiction meets, the